All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. We are live on a night that is not our normal night. Our normal nights are Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock for the live show. We also have a pre-show that starts at 6 o'clock Eastern Time on Tuesdays as well. So, happy to have you guys here with us. It's going to be a good night. Of course, one of the things you can see if you are currently logged into Steam is that there is a download pending for the public test realm. It is, I believe, live right now.
We should probably get into that at some additional, an additional stream of some form.
Yeah,
maybe
this
tomorrow,
weekend we might try and dive into this and see if we can get a group together to run some of the brand new content. That should make things substantially more fun.
But Ace, what new content are you talking about?
Exactly. That's the real question. So, for those that don't know, the PTR, or Public Test Realm, is entirely broken on my computer because it's just straight up not responding to the buttons.
Well, for anybody who doesn't know what the PTR is, PTR, as Aza said, is the public test realm. It is essentially the testing server for Amazon games, and essentially the place where Amazon games puts kind of brand new content that they're working on, and that they would like essentially player feedback about before it actually hits live servers. So. It's essentially all the new stuff that we're going to be getting our hands on, and you essentially get the opportunity to be able to play it essentially play it early and be able to respond to any kind of bugs or issues with regards to it, as well as offer some comments around whether it's balanced, whether it's working, whether certain things are good ideas or bad ideas, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So one of the most important things about the public test realm is that you provide feedback. Simply put, the system doesn't work if people don't play it, test it, try and break it, and give feedback about what's broken, what's not broken, what feels unbalanced, what what doesn't feel right. Now, I always love to talk about feedback because there's different qualities of feedback. If I tell McLeod this sucks, that doesn't say really anything. Doesn't tell me what the problem is, doesn't tell me why I feel that way, it doesn't tell him really anything at all about
I don't even know
I didn't enjoy something.
Yeah, other than you didn't enjoy something, and to be completely honest, I don't actually even know what sucks. You haven't even told me what sucks, just that it sucks.
Exactly. So this is where creating quality feedback actually is really important. So one of the things in the last PTR, we had talked about the cost of expertise, gypsum, and the orbs, and just the exorbitant cost that they were introduced in the PTR with, where it was 100 gold to make the orb and then 500 gold to make the cast, which obviously was a non-starter, because if you did all of the content, you were basically expected to pay $7 grand in gold, just to get your upgrades, and it was that's just not reasonable. So this is obviously they took that feedback and went, oh, hey, we understand, we get that this is not the intended balance level, and they absolutely nuked the gold cost by 95%. It was actually really good to see.
That was specifically because of player feedback that they made that change. So, when it comes to public test realm, sort of new installments of the public test realm, you guys' feedback to AGS is very, very, it's critical. That's exactly the reason why it's there.
Absolutely. So providing that feedback, like, one, it gives them a solid reasoning behind why you feel the way you feel, and how you got there. So, by me stating, hey, I really don't like the time gates. I think that time gates are terrible. I think that, we should stop time gating everything. And I also think that we should be able to sell things. Well, this has been listened to in a lot of ways, where they changed, instead of an 18-hour cooldown, I think, or instead of a 20-hour cooldown, it changed to like a 16-hour cooldown or something. It's not as bad, but like, it's at least a middle ground of sorts. Functionally, this just works better.
But when it comes to sort of feedback, like as well as telling what you feel, what is irking you about certain things, is telling them obviously why, but also potentially another thing that could help out is offering them up a suggestion as to how it can be changed to be less disagreeable, right?
Absolutely. Or at bare minimum, giving them the reason why you feel something isn't, give them as much of the background, as much of the why you feel the way you feel, and less of the emotional side of things. It's more of a, like, show them the logic behind why you feel some way, and that's functionally speaking the best way to get anything.
Yeah, to approach the PTR, right? And so in that frame of mind, with that in, with that kind of frame of reference and stuff in your head, like, let's dive into the subject matter for this show, right?
Sorry, I'm having a small problem with one of my screens that's causing your camera to just pause for no reason.
That's a bit weird.
But it should be fixed now. So let's dive into what content there is going to be.
Yes.
The first and biggest thing is expedition modifiers, mutators. So this is a big one. This is fundamentally where the game changes. With this PTR release, we're introducing a new endgame feature, expedition mutators. Mutators change the familiar by augmenting normal and named enemies found within expeditions, changing the way encounters play out and what strategies players should consider before battle. And as combat changes, so do the rewards. New bespoke gear and resources can be found, providing additional means to increase your power level. So these are going to be obviously more rewarding because they come with an additional risk. This system is intended to rotate through a unique combination of expeditions and mutations each week, with 10 difficulty levels per expedition mutation. Players will be challenged to climb the ladder with the aim of eventually reaching the max difficulty. However, during this PTR cycle, these rotations will be placed on an accelerated schedule so that everyone will have a chance to play a variety of mutations on several endgame expeditions. Please be advised that recommended gear score levels for a mutated expedition is important, as it directly factors into an enemy's scaling, and by consequence, your chances of success. Please note, this combat scaling is individual per player and separate from the base difficulty increases in health and damage. Interesting. So it's specific to the player.
So think of it like this: we have PvP scaling, right? Like, you know, your individual sort of like it doesn't really sort of affect you that much when it comes to, you know, level 60 player versus level 60 player. But you know, when you would fight somebody who was higher or lower level than you, then you'd have some scaling kind of occurring, because you know the system looked at essentially your progression level and scaled your damage and your health, you know, accordingly, or scaled your damage and their damage accordingly. Essentially, what this is going to be is a PvE version of that, but instead of looking at, you know, at level, it looks at you know, your gear score.
Interesting. So let's continue on here. We expect higher level difficulties to be extremely difficult, and so we'll be very interested in group outcomes and scores. Specifically, or especially, those who consider themselves highly competitive or highly skilled. To accommodate for this month's PTR playtesting, players will be given a starting 600 gear score loadout. So that's pretty solid start from there. Entering a mutated expedition. On the PTR, all players will be issued a generous sum of keys to run expeditions. Upon approaching and interacting with the expedition menu, players will be able to see the type of mutator available, the mutation level, gear score required to advance, and lastly, if they meet the qualifications for entry. So it does look like these are going to be just like normal, you are going to need a key for them. That I don't think, I think somebody had posted on Reddit that wasn't going to be the case, but that was never actually confirmed by the devs. I believe that these are still going to require the keys. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole bunch of level 200 stone cutters who are going to be furious.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Scoring and advancement. So this is new. This is something that actually players have been asking for a while. Is being scored while you're in a dungeon. So a score is performance based, taking from a combination of categories. Score is also a shared value for group members. The following categories count towards the group's overall score. Time. The better the time, the better the score, calculated at the end of your run. So of course, if you run the expedition very quickly, you're able to accomplish it rapidly, you're going to get a much higher score because of it. AI kills. A target value for killing a predetermined amount of enemies within the expedition. You have to kill a number of them before we actually get the rewards for it. Takedowns. A target value for killing named enemies within the expedition, which in most dungeons you can't get past the named enemies without either triggering them or like they're tied to the progression of the level anyways. So that's going to be hard to not get. Team wipes. Each team wipe during a boss fight reduces the score by a significant amount. So getting it right the first time is going to be important, and that means being prepared for these is actually going to be really important. Respawns. Each respawn reduces the score by a moderate amount. So if you lose somebody, it's not going to be it's not going to hit you too hard, but at the same time, it is going to affect your score if somebody actually dies. There are also bonus multipliers for run efficiency, minimal respawning, wiping, speed, and taking down all targets. These are calculated at the end of the expedition run. The score ranks are bronze, silver, and gold. So that's an interesting interesting way to go about it. I'm happy they've added that.
Oh, XYO. Sorry, we'll sort that out.
Yep, we should probably add him to exempt from the rules.
Wait,
Expedition Mutator Schedules. During the duration of the PTR test cycle, one of the following expeditions will be mutated every 48 hours. Dynasty Shipyard, Garden of Genesis, and Lazarus Instrumentality. So they're 3 of these are going to be part of the mutators. It'll be interesting to see if mutations also get added to the lower level dungeons, as something that like people can process through and kind of challenge themselves throughout leveling. That'll be interesting to see as that goes forward.
Oh yeah.
So furthermore, we feel that the following scheduled mechanics are also worth spotlighting. The difficulty level of each mutated expedition is tracked separately and will persist across mutation cycles. There are a total of 8 different mutation combinations that'll be randomly cycled alongside the 48-hour expedition rotation. The 48 hours being specific to the PTR. It's going to be, I believe, on a week-to-week basis when it actually rolls out. The Expedition Interact menu will display the current mutation available. So, Expedition changes. With the release of Expedition Mutators, we've made some balance changes and updates to existing content. We've made expeditions more enticing by updating rewards and drop rates, bringing them in line with other endgame activities. Drop rates for named enemies and expeditions have been significantly increased. T5 gear have been added to Dynasty Shipyard loot tables when playing in the mutated expedition. So this is going to make, that's how they're making Dynasty Shipyard more valuable. That explains that. We've also adjusted certain enemy counts. Lazarus Instrumentality reduced the number of enemies when sealing the ancient Azoth portals and the Ostium. Thank God. Alright, so PTR backstory loadouts. Upon character creation in the PTR, players will be given multiple caches of special armor and weapons. Each cache has a designated or designation based on a general build based on a main attribute: con, dex, intelligence, focus, and strength. In addition, we'll also be issuing a large sum of orbs to facilitate the expedition mutator runs with the accelerated scheduling. In the event all orbs are exhausted, reroll a new character, and a new set of orbs be provided. So basically, if you decide to run it, the crazy amount of times that you have the orbs for, and you need more, just reroll a character, and you're good to go again. To help manage the sudden onset of items, we advise that you please do not open all provided caches at once or risk becoming encumbered. This has happened to me more times than I would I'm prepared to admit.
I thankfully have done that. I've done that once or twice before, but then I've learned from my mistakes very much so, and always done it within easy reach of a settlement storage. So yeah, definitely go the latter route on that one.
So let's see what else here. Risk being encumbered. Equip all provided bags and then follow up with opening each cache deliberately, not all at once. Any undesired caches can be dropped or deposited into your personal settlement storage. Lastly, during the final week of testing, a new loadout will be provided with a maxed out gear score of 625, of which you guys can assume that the gear score is going to be increasing to 625. in this upcoming patch. There's more on that later. Allowing for a renewed take on a level 10 difficulty mutations. To take advantage of this offer, a new character will need to be created. So, new features. Umbral Shard equipment upgrade system. This right here is huge.
Yeah, we had inklings that the Umbral Shards were going to be some aspect of upgrading, and some aspect of, affecting the gear score. So it's good to see that, like, it wasn't just a fake out by Amazon Games.
Absolutely. With this release, we've added Umbral Shards to the game. Umbral Shards are a mysterious, powerful resource that enable you to take an item with a gear score of 600 all the way up to a gear score of 625. Raising your equipment's gear score in this way is critical if you do not want to dive into higher... It's critical if you want to dive into higher difficulty mutated expeditions or gain a competitive edge in PvP. We have also increased the expertise cap to 625. There is an earnable soft cap at 600, which you can reach in the same ways as before, such as gypsum casts and defeating powerful enemies. With this update, crafting a gear score 600 item will also raise your expertise if you are not already at 600 for that item. So crafters, you just, like, that right there is huge.
Oh, it is massive.
Like, that is quite possibly the biggest thing for crafters that has happened in a long time. With this update, crafting a gear score 600 item will also raise your expertise if you are not already at 600 for that item.
I mean, I just want to say that is, like, I know that like some crafters have looked at the gypsum system and the expertise system, sort of, in a sense that in some way they've been cheated in some, and it's nice to see that, we're getting a good payback.
Yes. So this is pretty big stuff here, because that's a solid bonus to getting your level 200 crafting, and getting your buying those crazy expensive weaponsmith pants that I still can't believe are 150,000 gold.
Now I want to make it perfectly clear though, because people kind of think that, like, because the cap out is at 600, the cap out for gear score is at 600 at least, before when you're actually crafting an item, right? Because obviously if we're going up to 625, people kind of will want to know, like, can we craft it to 625? Like, no, you can't craft it to 625. It goes to 600, then you have to use the Umbral Shards to basically increase that particular item to 625. But, like, essentially, I want people who aren't crafters to know that crafters don't just craft, gear score 600 items like that, right? It's it is still a kind of it is very much a dice roll for crafters as well. So don't think we're just going to be like, smashing out gear score, smashing out expertise.
So let's keep going from 600 to 625 requires Umbral Shards, which can be acquired in 3 ways: completing mutated expeditions, crafting a gear score 600 item when your expertise with that item is also at 600, opening a gypsum cast when your expertise for that item is also at 600. So this right here is actually pretty big for the people that have already finished grinding their 600 gear score. This gives you a good reason to go run gypsum casks for various things.
Yep, for sure.
Because that's going to get you those Umbral Shards. Umbral Shards can only be applied to equipment piece if both of these two conditions are met. The equipment piece is gear score 600. Your expertise for that piece of equipment is also 600. So those are both pretty important things.
Very important.
Now the real question is, can you can acquire these in the meantime, basically.
Yeah.
So as you're leveling, you're going to have Umbral Shards that you're just collecting until you hit the gear score 600 on items, and then you can upgrade them from there. If you haven't already reached 600s. So from there's some Outpost Rush balance changes. We think that summoning the brutes proved to be too frequent and too easily handled by solo players alone. We want this to be more of a group effort, so we've increased the cost by 50%. Brute summoning stone cost has increased from 500 to 750 Yazov, which I think is, in my opinion, still pretty easy to get, even for an individual.
Yeah. It's getting towards the area where it's being more of a group effort, right?
Like as the guy who pretty frequently does the like PvE grind to get them and to get the resources to build up the base, I can tell you that's still pretty easy. Like I more often than not have more than 500 when I show up there anyways, just by doing the standard loop behind a base.
Yeah. Especially if you're going to be like, especially if Outpost Rush are going to, eventually end up having, people with gear score 625 kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
So.
Yes, I'm a little bit interested how the combat balance is going to be in between somebody who has just reached level 60 and somebody who has perfect 625 gear score. I feel like there's already a large imbalance in PvP when it comes to like a fresh level 60 versus somebody who has spent all of the time grinding. Like it's pretty noticeable. Adding another 25 gear score between them, I think I'll be very curious to see how they're doing the balancing for the PvP on that front.
So I think one of the things, and this is speculation, by the way, just to preface this, but like getting into the speculation zone for a minute, I'm wondering whether this change to this addition of a PvE gear score kind of scaling system is a prelude to potentially shifting the PvP scaling system over to gear score versus gear score rather than level versus level. I'd love to know like what you guys think out there, in the meantime, sort of thing. But I'm kind of wondering whether it might actually be worthwhile, because then it would start to actually scale beyond level 60.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry to have screwed with your flow there.
Well, so the other thing that I think really needs to happen is that Outpost Rush needs to be multi-server, just to help deal with like queues, as well as provide fresh pools of people to play against. Because it doesn't affect the instance that you're on in a long-term way. I think that would be a better way to go with Outpost Rush in the long term, but that's a longer term fix.
I hope that's a project that they're working on in some way, shape or form, but like I can imagine that being a very hard thing to do technically, because it may be something that they never really thought about, and may be something that is technically quite difficult to do and would take some time to do. But if they're working on it, that'd be fantastic. It'd be fantastic to just hear that they may be, looking into that, or the viability of that would be great. But,
one thing I can say, going back to the brutes, I actually think that there's a couple of things they really do need to fix. One, the brute occasionally just blocks the door altogether, and you can't get by him in any way. Like, that I think really needs to be fixed. I kind of think that the brute should just be able to go in. Like,
to some degree, yeah. The boulder is a bit sketchy as well, because it seems to have an extended hitbox.
Yes, it's got an extended hitbox, but you can also just hit dodge, and even though you're still in its path, you can be in a dodge animation and just not get hit by it at all, despite the fact that you very clearly just got run over by it. Yeah, so that's kind of a weird one. That's a really weird one. But yeah, one of the other balance things I think would be kind of cool is maybe leave the brute so he can't fit through the door, but also that he can't like go within like a certain distance of the door, so that he's not blocking the entrance, and there's always a way in. But the bear and the ghost should definitely be able to go inside. They definitely fit through the door. And I think that it would give more of a reason and more of a, like, do I want to pick this over this? Do I want, the added protection on the inside, or do I want the royal pain that the brute is? And firm protection on the outside.
I'm tempted to say that, like, I would even want to say that the ghost should be able to get inside even if the doors are up.
Yes. It would be good at protecting against, maybe one or two people that are trying to back cap, hidden, kind of cloak and dagger. We're going to capture it from behind. But on the other side,
not only that,
the bear would be better at protecting against a larger group, but you also can't have doors then.
Yeah, but like, I'm just thinking from an offensive standpoint, like, it would be an interesting thing to have.
Oh yeah. So I think there's some interesting feedback that can be given about the different NPCs when it comes to Outpost Rush. There's obviously a ton of stuff that they could do, and I think it's just making sure that they either have the ideas or have the ability to see that the player base wants that. But yeah. So let's jump into combat updates. The following combat-related changes have also been made within this update. For the bow, they fixed an issue that allowed players to instantly jump cancel the bow shot recovery. That is, yes. Thank you for that. Void Gauntlet. The blessed item perk is now available on the Void Gauntlet, which I think is actually pretty important. It's going to make it a little bit more, even more viable than it already is. And yeah, so ammo refund. Effects from abilities, perks, and attribute bonuses that refund ammo now has a 2-second cooldown. I wonder why.
Yes.
There are a couple. I believe there's a perk out there that if you get shot with something, you can potentially gain that. So, like, if you get shot with a orichalcum bullet, you could gain a orichalcum bullet. Well, this gets really funny when like 90 people shoot you.
You
all
suddenly
at the
gain
same
like
time.
60 orichalcum bullets.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's a comical story behind why that was a fix that made it into this one. Fast travel costs. This one is actually one of the ones that I like the most because I do a ton of fast traveling. Just going around to get all the event stuff for the Winter Convergence event. That's been my like primary way of leveling through the event and getting all of the stuff that I want from it. We've heard the frustrations with the cost of fast travel, and this release includes an update that dramatically reduces the distance factor in the amount of Azoth required for each trip. Accordingly, the faction control point bonus associated with that fast travel now reduces the distance factor to 0. Interesting.
As someone whose faction owns that particular thing, that particular fort, I am totally okay with this.
People were duping arrows because Rapid Shot only used this one arrow, and you'd get extra arrows each time you used it on a dummy.
That makes a lot of sense. I was thinking to myself, like, I mean, surely there's something that, like, it is a duplication aspect to that, but I couldn't figure it out what. But yeah. Like spread shot, that makes a lot of sense.
For a while, I used bags that had that, and I, constantly was overflowing with arrows. Because people really like to shoot me, like for some reason or another. I who would have thought, right? So the rest of this is just information on the PTR itself. That's all kind of a repetitive thing. One of the most important things, and we said this at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it again here. Fundamentally, the PTR is the best way to get input into the game. If you want to have your voice heard, now's the time. Play the PTR, give them feedback on, hey, this felt right, this didn't feel right. Really make sure that you give it a good try and actually try and break things.
It's a testing environment after all, and so the idea, the whole reason why it exists is for you guys to go and try and break things as much as you can, and when you do, tell them how you broke it.
Yes. It's really important. Especially if you can find dupes, if you can find game-breaking exploits and report them early, they get fixed before they go into the live game. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but that's the job of QA. You're talking about a game with millions of lines of code. QA can only cover so much.
Yeah, like there's the thing. Like, I mean, I know that Amazon Games is a subsidiary of Amazon, and they have a lot of money, right? But like, you can only hire so many people, and you can only put, like, it takes time to hire a team. It takes time for a team to know how to, how to work and be up to speed with all of the processes and all of the procedures involved in QA, right? So when you have a QA team, they can only go so far. They can only test so much stuff, and they get paid for doing it. That's fair enough. It's their professional job. It's their professional career to do that kind of thing. And they do it as much as they can to the best of their abilities. But a game like New World, an MMO, it is vast. It is absolutely huge, and if you can have some public, some support from the player base, from the public, in terms of testing, in terms of trying things out and trying to break things, that is ultimately the winning combination.
Absolutely. So, for those that don't know, I want to make sure that the drops are the Wheel of Time drops still. They're on until I believe the 11th. So make sure to get those as fast as you can. You do have to collect them each hour. But several channels are running drops as an incentive to watch them. So make sure to do that. Additionally, obviously there was a lot of information that we covered. I'm going to drop the link for the PTR announcement and the notes that we read in chat. We obviously want to talk with you guys about this. We want to keep the conversation going post-show. And you're more than welcome to join us on our Discord. We'll be in the public channels, just chatting, having a jolly good time. We are this easy to approach and chat with. Trust me, we don't bite. Additionally, if you want to deep dive into the PTR and really take a look at what's there, I really want to push people and say, go to New World Database, nwdb.info. They have a whole section on the PTR. You can dive through the database files, check and see what's changed. The site itself is a wonder. It's got great stuff, great resources. You guys definitely need to check that out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was. Sorry, what was that?
Nope. I'll let you go.
Oh right. No. I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I wanted to very quickly, you probably saw it in chat, but I wanted to quickly check with XYO to see that he's updating it, because I know that, like, it does definitely have a PTR sort of side of the site. I'm fairly certain that he's probably busy dealing with that right now, and it will be updated if it's not already updated. Yeah, oh, there you go. It already has. Yeah. So that data is already there on the site for you guys to browse and to enjoy. So definitely check that out.
Oh, yeah.
nwdb.info.
Oh yeah. So some great stuff there. I also want to take a moment, thank people who hit that subscribe button. It really means the world to us. Really helps us out. I want to thank our Patreons. We, literally, there can't be enough thanks in the world for you guys. All of the people that have hit follow, as we're now well over 5,600. And McLeod, you did something with your computer. Your camera's gone.
No, I think I know. Just carry on. I'll sort it out.
We've broken 5,600 follows, which is huge for us. We also managed to break 1.2 million views on Twitch, which is amazing. We of course are ever growing our YouTube and all that, but you guys are the reason we do this. We wouldn't do it without the community, and with that, that's kind of all we've got. If you're catching this on YouTube, please make sure to hit like, favorite, subscribe, the whole works, and make sure to check out future content. Our live shows are normally Tuesday afternoons, 6 p.m. for the pre-show Eastern time, and 7 p.m. for the live show. Due to our new partner, we now have a lot more flexibility in when we go live. So, any kind of breaking coverage, we will come live and cover as news more than
like
once.
We've done so today.
Yeah, like we did today. So, with that, make sure to hit that follow button, and we will see you in the new world.
See you guys.